bids are in. The gavel is dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. That's right. This is WineBid's podcast dedicated to all things wine value, wine retail, wine auctions, and just wine. I am Jeff Gurn on the WineBid marketing team. And with me, as always, is Paul Walker, our wine expert. I'm going to underline expert and bold it and italicize it. And
I like to say our, and that means myself, Jeff, and the 5 robots that are listening. It's our little wine expert for the 7 beings that are, inhabiting this.
That's right. That's right. Well, we only have like 7 listeners. So to the 7 listeners, Paul, including you and I, that, you are a wine auction expert or wine expert. So today's episode, we're going to be looking at stuff coming in auction. We have a tremendous amount of stuff coming in auction. We're going to focus on the stuff outside of the 2 Bs, the 2 big Bs in France. We'll be looking at everything outside of Burgundy and Bordeaux. I'm going to start us off with some Chateau Pradot Bundal.
I saw that.
This stuff, absolutely delicious. Some beautiful wine from Provence. I know you're not a big fan of Provence. You really just like your jammy Napa cabs. But let me tell you, they make some exceedingly good
I lived in Provence, dude. So
which is surprising to me.
Don't tell me about
like the wine in Provence. I'm going to educate you about Provence.
All right,
I've taught Paul a lot about Provence.
You're the expert.
But we've got 6 mags for $115 a piece. I thought that was a pretty good deal for those mags. Like,
there's a whole bunch of Pradot in this week.
Whole bunch of Pradot in this week.
I'm imagining that the rosé ages for a few years. Like, I've never had anything, I don't think, except on release, from them. But it looks like there's 17, 19, 2020, 2021. So all kinds of cool stuff. Did you just mention the red?
I mentioned everything.
Okay, because there's a, what is this? 10 years Elevage, so it looks like it's been in oak for 10 years, 07. So it was probably released, 17, 18, somewhere in there. That's cool. Yeah, no, all kinds of it. That's great. So starting with Provence. Okay, great. There's not a ton of new stuff coming in from Provence, but I wanted to mention the Pradot, and then I wanted to move into Champagne. We're out of Provence. Okay. We're out of Provence. We're out of the Rhone. We're in Champagne.
You have to have good reflexes. You're too slow. I move fast, okay? There's a lot going on this week. We have to move to a different region. Now we're in another region that I feel like I have really enlightened you about, and I think you didn't really like the wines from Champagne until I really taught you how to enjoy Champagne. Couple things I noted: the Pierre Guimonet Brut Premier Cru Gastronome Blanc de Blancs, 2012 for $50. We've got 3 of those. 08 Drapier Grand Cendrillon. This one, are you familiar with this one?
I know Dropier's wines, but I don't know this. I also flagged it. It looks like it's got a bid on it.
It already does, 75 up to 76. And then one that I love, I visited the Champagne. I haven't visited that many Champagne houses, not as many as Paul, since I really turned him on to Champagne. But he moves fast. But 1998 Paul Marie Cuvée Louise, Brut Louise, which is their sort of top of the line Champagne. We've got 4 of those. Already have a bid on one of them. For $100, which I actually thought was a pretty good price for something with that much age on it. I think that should be a really interesting bottle.
Yeah, I think even back whenever 98 was released, probably at least 10 years ago or so, maybe more, it was probably over $100 retail for
sure.
Yeah, so that's not a bad deal. That's good stuff.
At the winery, Cuvée Louise is well above $100. And it's delicious, and it's got nice acidity. So I feel like that one probably will age pretty nicely. I know you don't like Champagne that's more than like 1 or 2 months old. But
that's way too old. 98 is way too old for my taste. 20 years is my maximum.
20 years is your max. I'll go longer than that. The non-vintage Musset Fils Extra Brut.
I saw that. The Musset, like people were finding these things because I noticed that too, and it's also got a bid.
Oh, does it have it? When I looked at it earlier, it did not have a bid.
The Blanc Noir, the Extra Noir. Yeah.
But I love Blanc de Noir. I'm a huge fan of Blanc de Noir.
Musset wines are, they're still good deals. That's like $40.
Yeah, no. That's like a fantastic deal.
There's all kinds of deals in Champagne this week. I thought anyway. There's the usual suspects, of course, which I always like to mention, but there's like, I don't know, let's see, 3 bottles of Cédric Bouchard in this week. Again, prices is creeping up for that stuff, but it is amazing. But yeah, there's Benoit L'Aille Violaine 15, just under $100 right now. Charles Elner, I saw at Grand Reserve Brut. It's kind of a big name, but still $21. Someone's bidding on it for a half bottle. Charles Elner Seduction 06 at 51. It's got a bid on it. There's a Christophe Baron Magnum this week, the 15, which has been around for a few years. The Dessus de Bois Marie Croûte sur Marne 250, a couple apiece for that. Yeah, you mentioned the Drabier. That's pretty cool. Aiguille Ourier Brut Tradition. I think it's like disgorged fairly recently, so I think it's a fairly new release for 110. Yeah, and then a whole lot of things that I was not familiar with, like Franck Bonnevie, Avise Blanc de Blanc Magnum 09 at 160. There's some Jean Vassel, which I've had before. It's good stuff. 01 Prestige, Brut Prestige Grand Cru at Magnum for 160. Oh yeah, there's my favorite in this week, Jérôme Prévost, the ampersand, which I think has like,
I saw that.
It has its own, I forget what the name, that's not what it's called. There's a name for it that's not on the label. If you go to the website, which is very conceptual and interesting, there's a description of it, but also the sort of standard, if you will, Les Béguines, which is 100% Pinot Meunier. That's in at 260 this week, couple bottles of the 19. And then there's this La Closerie, which I've never seen before. I think it's the first time at auction at 910. So that's some pretty serious stuff. And if I'm not mistaken, the description actually includes the disgorgement. I don't know. Anyway.
Did you see this O2 Union de Saint Gall?
No.
Grand Cru or Palais Blanc de Blanc. This one looks super interesting, $90. The tasting notes actually treat it very well. And $90 seems to be a steal compared to what it looks to be going for at retail. I mean, most things are a steal compared to retail, but I thought that one was super interesting as well.
Yeah, no, I didn't see it. I didn't even notice that because there's a lot of really interesting stuff in this week, and I was kind of scrambling to pick stuff, but no, I didn't see that. Let's see, just a few more, and then we can move on. But 08 José Michel Fils Brut Special Club Magnum. There's a lot of great Special Club in this week. 160 for that. Launois 08 Special Club. There's some Margay wines in this week, the 12 and 14, and they're not too expensive. They're under 50 for right now anyway. Marie Courtin Efflorescence at 56, Michel Tourgy 55. I think pretty much all of these have bids on them. We mentioned the Mousset. There's Panier 02 Extra Brut, Paul Barra Special Club Rosé 2012, which I'm sure is awesome. And then there's also 14 Special Club Rosé. Another one of my absolute favorites, Philippe Pinot Clos de Goisse Juste Rosé 07. 3 of those at 230. It's just incredibly good wine. Yeah, you mentioned the Gimenez. There's Pierre Moncuy. There's Pierre Paillard. There's Paul Roger Winston Churchill 06 at 255, which I still think that for their sort of flagship tête de cuvée, the Paul Roger Winston Churchill's, it's just amazing champagne. And it's still not, it's cheaper than Cédric Bouchard. It's cheaper than a lot of other stuff that's just going through the roof right now. And it's just amazing. So anyway, that one, yeah. Well, I don't know. It's like, it's got like enough of sort of a retail presence that I think it doesn't have that much fire in the secondary market. It just doesn't have the same kind of following as so much of these other kind of culty wines do, but it's really good. Also 08 Tattinger, Comte de Champagne, 215. That's another just amazing wine and an incredible vintage. Veuve Dussault, another wine I hadn't heard of before, 08. It's got a bid at 51. There's some selection of Villemar wines, which are also incredible. Cuvée Rubies, 3 of those at 70. There's the Grand Cellier Magnums, 190, or one of those, I should say. There's Vouette and Sorbet, Blanc d'Argile, 14 at 90. And I think that wraps it up for Champagne. So all kinds of great stuff.
Let's head to the Rhone. Keeping on one of our consistent themes, 2019 Boucassel Chateauneuf du Pape Blanc for 150.
Yeah.
We have five of those. We have a few bottles of the Chateauneuf du Pape Blanc in.
Yeah, that's
all
right.
For more than the red goes.
And I think like it's weird because I think, and I could be wrong, but I think recent vintages of this are now they're now just named as the old vines of Vieilles Vignes, whereas it used to be there was like a Chateauneuf Blanc from Beaucastel, and then there was also the Reserve, which I thought was the old vines, and now it looks like I don't know if there's still two or maybe even three white designates or not, but yeah, the the old vines white is not. It's not cheap, and it's more than the reds for the current release, which is wild.
No, and we have a 1994 Chateauneuf du Pape Blanc Vieilles Vignes for 135.
Oh, really?
Yes.
That's funny.
Yes. So we're even with some age on it, but just a ton of Boucassel coming to auction this week. If you like Boucassel, I love Boucassel. We just got a bunch of it. I noted we've got 18 Gugal Condrieu La Dorraine for 75.
Love that wine.
$75.
So good.
If you were to pick between the Chateauneuf du Pape Blanc,
definitely the Dorian. No question. Yeah, no, the Dorian. It's like it always is in this top 100 wines and spirits tasting every year in San Francisco, and it's always so good. And I love it. But yeah, that's worth the money. For the way prices are now, for Rhone wines or whatever, $75 for that wine is just not expensive. It's really good. It's really good.
Absolutely stunning wine. We've got, while we're on Gugal, 2015 Gugal Côte Rôtie La Landonne, or La Landonne, 415. We have 6 of those. Yet again, another, bottle of Jean-Louis Chave Hermitage from 1985. This one at 650. After the last few weeks, I feel like every time we see Jean-Louis Chave Hermitage, it ends up getting some bids on it, sometimes even some action. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some action on that one. 2019 Domaine de la Jeunesse, Chateauneuf du Pape Vieilles Vignes, $80. We've got 6 of them. That's some tasty stuff. 2019 Clos Saint-Jean, Chateauneuf du Pape La Combe de Faux, 12 of those for $80 a piece. I'm all over the place. De las Forêts, Côte Rôtie, La Landonne, Mags for $290. I thought those look pretty interesting to me. And then we have some of their Hermitage, Domaine de Tourette for $80. Pierre Useglio, Chateauneuf du Pape Cuvée des Monts Aïeux for $65 a piece. That stuff's ridiculously good. Domaine Les Clos du Calot, Chateauneuf du Pape La Reserve, Mags for $260. Domaine Isabelle Ferrando, Chateauneuf du Pape Colombie already has a bid. We have 18 of those for $65 a piece. 89
all
Domaine.
18 that has a bid. Wow, that's pretty wild. I guess all of them.
I'm actually looking at something like, was I mistaken? Did I accidentally put in the wrong amount? But I think I think we have a bunch of those. I don't know. I should probably check. Somebody should check that for me. 1989 Domaine de la Russe Côte Rôtie. We've got one of those for $50. So that just seems like what is that? 34 years of age on that Côte Rôtie, and it's $50. Seems like that's not bad. There was just a ton of great stuff from the Rhone this week, and a lot of it I feel at extremely reasonable prices. I don't think anything, really seemed to me outrageous. I feel like it was a lot of decent deals. And yes, that Domaine Isabelle Ferrando, we have 18 of them.
Yeah, you're right. There's 2 bids. There's bids on 6 of them now.
Bids on 6, yeah.
It looks like there's actually quite a bit of that. It's weird because, the Colombies, man, the price, it's the scores. The 07 is at 185, and 07 is it's a controversial vintage. Anyway, the 09's at 70. It's less than half. And then there's Mags of 09 at 140. So, I don't know. Yeah, I would go for maybe a safer vintage, like 17. 17 got very high scores.
Yes.
It's $65. There's 18 bottles. There's, so that I would do that because you'll be able to probably drink it on the younger side. It's way less than the 07, which may be disappointing from some of the reviews I've read of that vintage as a whole.
Way less than retail. Retail, it's going for $99. I mean, literally, it's at retail right now across the board. $99.99 is like some
for the 17.
For the 17, it's going for $100.
Wow.
I'm looking at retailers that I know and use frequently to buy wine that have.
Why do you buy wine from retailers, Jeff, when you work for WineBid? That doesn't make sense.
Well, WineBid doesn't. Okay. I don't spend as much at retailers these days. I do. I buy stuff that I can't find on one. Stuff that's on release that I can't find at WineBid. But most stuff I buy through WineBid because, and this is not me saying it as an employee of WineBid. I mean, I am an employee of WineBid, but
it is.
Generally, I mean, this is a perfect example of why, like, I don't buy this stuff at retail anymore. I just buy stuff off of WineBid because I can get it cheaper off of wine. It's $65 and there are 18 of them.
There you go.
See? On WineBid. That's a phenomenal deal. It's a $100 bottle of wine. Even after like the buyer's premium, it's still well below.
Shipping. Yeah, no,
and shipping is still well below what I would get. But I'm going to have it shipped from everywhere else because it's not like, it's not like you're throwing a rock. It's not like every supermarket has, these bottles of Colombis, right? Like,
no, you won't be able to find that in supermarket.
No, you're going
not in San Diego.
Not in San Diego. Certainly not in San Diego.
Oh, goodness.
What do you got from the round? What looks interesting to you?
Yeah, no, one of my favorite, Alain Graillot, Croz Hermitage 99. There's some of that, one bottle, I should say, $92. It's got obviously a couple bids on it. We mentioned Beaucastel Blanc. There's an homage, Beaucastel homage Jacques Perrin 01 at $395. It's kind of not surprising. 89 Beaucastel, also famous vintage for this wine. A lot of the bottles, and you'll see on the auction, actually show signs of seepage because they had this weird problem in 89 where some of them were undergoing like secondary fermentations in the bottle. And so a lot of them actually leaked, but it's a great vintage. And there's a mag of the 89 at 340. There's also 90, which was equally excellent in my opinion. A couple of those 750s at 155. There's some of the Pesquier wines, the Côte de Ventoux from Provence, which are great. 16, the Artemia at $30. And then there's a bunch of Saint-Côme wines in the Gigondas, which is really expensive. The Omenis Fides and La Poste and Les Clos, they're all over $100, which is kind of wild because a lot of the wines that Saint-Côme makes are not that expensive, but these wines are not cheap. And then there's the Valbel 07 Gigondas at $70. Then I think, you mentioned the Clos Saint-Jean wines. The Comme des Fous Magnums I thought was a pretty good deal. Again, this is like, we were talking about Bordeaux earlier, these current releases, they're just smoking deals. If you've got some time to, put these away, these Magnums of Comme des Fous at $160 for the 19 Magnums at $160. Also, the Deus Ex Machina, which I don't think is their top of the line. I think there's one beyond that, but
God from the Machine.
Yeah, there's 18 and 19, and those are $210 a piece. Again, like great wines. Oh yeah, Sanctus. I think it's the Sanctus Sanctorum is considered. I don't know if it's like a different barrel blend or something, but that's always been more. But anyway, mags of the 18 Sanctus Sanctorum also for $300 and 19 at $380. Yeah, you mentioned the Delos mags. There's Côte Rôtie, there's Hermitage, there's some Alain Vosges Cornas Les Chais 15, which I thought was pretty reasonable. It's got a bid, it looks like at 51. And then Cornas Vieilles Vignes 15 at 70. There's some Champé, Côte Rôtie, Les Fils à Jo at 60. Yeah, you mentioned Jonas Cuvée Chopin Magnums 130 for the 16. Again, great deal. If you got to be able to store it for a while, it'll be, needs probably 10 years, but still. Vieille Julienne Reserve 3 at 80 for the 99s. If you want something that's ready to drink. Saint Profer, Chateauneuf Blanc, Cuvée Spéciale Vieille Clairette Magnum, which I thought was pretty wild for I think another expensive white wine, $220 for that. And then there's some Jamais Côte du Rhône, which I actually haven't seen much, and it looks like that's pretty sought after because I think all of them have bids, and they're not that expensive. There's 15, 16, and 17, all start at about, I think, $40, $45 with bids. And then the Côte Rôties, which of course are a lot more, 13 half bottle at $105. And then there's some 15 at 250.
We got a lot of France to cover, not a lot of time to do it. So I'm going to interrupt you and I'm going to move us to...
Hold on 1 second. Let me mention 15 Le Turc, because that doesn't come up too much. And there's 15 Le Turc in from Guigal and Frank Balthazar Carnasse, which, mark my words, these are not expensive and they're going to go way up. So just keep watch on Frank Balthazar. Great wines and not too expensive right now. Oh, and Henri Bonneau, Chateauneuf Celestin 05. Watch out. That's amazing wine with an amazing price, obviously. And so, yeah, go ahead. Now you can cut me off.
I'm only going to mention a few Alsatian wines, but bunches in Umbrecht coming into auction this week. There's an 89 Gewürztraminer Goldert Vintage Tadiv. This one, $80, which I thought, great price. An 03s in Umbrecht Riesling Ehrenweg de Turkheim. This one, $60. I'm a huge fan of Zin Umbrecht. I'm a huge fan of Alsatian wines. And an 04 Domaine Schlumberger Gewürztraminer Kessler for $30. Just a lot of really good Alsatian stuff, which I would encourage nobody else to bid on. Just leave that for me. Let it continue to drop in price. Certainly don't let anybody know that Alsace produces ridiculously good wine at reasonable prices compared to other places. Let's just keep that between the 7 of us who listen to this podcast, okay?
Yeah, there's a lot of cinema. I mean, I think you can probably go after some of these and win them at reserves, because there's quite a bit of it in right now.
There is a ton of really good Alsatian stuff in the auction right now. Moving to Beaujolais, we've got Louis Boileau and Phil Moulin à Vent, Ville-Vignier for $25. Marcel Lapierre Morgon, Cuvée Marcel Lapierre for $65. Lots of great Beaujolais. I don't know, some really good Beaujolais. Anything in particular you saw in Beaujolais that tickled your fancy?
Yeah, there's Mag of Thévenet Renier Grand et Granit for $50. I didn't think it was too bad. And there's some Foyard Coteau 14 and 15. Looks like 15's got a bid at 51. And then Morgon Courcelette 15 and 55. So yeah, some nice Beaujolais selections for sure.
Actually, so I would say go to Jura, but the first thing I'm going to mention is technically a Vin France. It is the Ganivat.
I knew you were going to mention Ganivat again.
Yes,
this is the non-X-rated version label too. I don't know if you've seen the other J'en veux encore labels, but they're pretty salacious. They're pretty wild. But yeah, apparently this wine is controversial too. There's a lot of bottle variation.
There's a lot of, here's what's funny is the reason I noted this, the most recent tasting notes on Cellar Tracker say barnyard and manure, even after 2 hours of decanting down the drain.
I saw that.
It just seems to go back and forth between this is amazing and this is the worst thing I've ever had.
Some people like those flavors. What can I say? You know what? I don't know. Yeah, it's so funny. I think we mentioned there's at least one Ganivat wine in every week, if not, I don't know, maybe every other week, whatever. And they always get bids. I'm interested to see if this wine actually gets bid out, because it doesn't have any bids yet. And usually when Ganivat hits the auction, people bid on it right away.
Yeah, it's immediately they come in.
But this one's sitting there, and maybe people are like, huh. I don't know. Or they wanted the X-rated label. They wanted the label with the salacious photo on it. Well, it's not a photo; it's an illustration. But
I saw some other one. I mean, speaking of action, before we get the ones with action, there was this Jean Bordy Chateau Chalon, from 2000, 125.
I saw that
that I thought looks fascinating.
Yeah, that'll probably go if it hasn't already. Yeah, it's got a bid.
When I looked at it, did not. When I looked at it yesterday, it did not have a bid. So, if 750 milliliters is just too much for you and 375 is too little, this is sort of a nice in between for some decent wine. 2015, Benedict et Stéphane, Tissot, Arbois, Trousseau, Singulaire. This one already has some bids, some interesting Arbois. We've got one of them start at 30. It's at 31. The one that was really interesting to me was this Domaine l'Abbé Pulsard. This one started at 30. It's got 6 bids already and it's at 82. Although it might have more because I was just looking yesterday. So,
yeah, it's already gone up. That l'Abbé apparently, apparently it's super, super allocated in this country. I don't think it's easy to get. So if you're like
a 120, well, 120. All right, it started at 30. It's at $120.
If you're a retailer and you want to get this wine, I think it's very, very difficult. So, once these kinds of things hit secondary market, they're super hot. So yeah, L'Abbaye has been on fire recently.
I'll check Costco and we'll see.
I'm sure your local Costco will definitely have magnums of L'Abbaye, Jeff. You
should. They have a whole L'Abbaye section.
In San Diego, of all places.
Of all places.
Wow.
We're a big market for L'Abbaye. And then in the Languedoc, there was an 82 Mas de Dumas Gassac Rouge 82 for $250. Just sort of an interesting Bordeaux blend. And then they have what's interesting is
that's a lot.
Well, it's a lot, and then they have the 91 for $65.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. I don't really look at the vintage charts from the Languedoc very often, but clearly 82 must have been a big year in the Languedoc because compared to 91. And then there's this 2013 Chateau Puchot Clos du Pic. Already has a bid on it. Started at 30, it's at 31. Sort of an interesting Languedoc Syrah blend.
Those ones are great. If you haven't had them before, they're really good. They're
really
yeah.
That one definitely caught my eye. I mean, anything else from Languedoc that you wanted to mention? Do you have a list of like 400 Languedoc wines that you want to go over?
No, not this week. But no, Closer to Peak. Yeah. Well, they also get big scorers. So I think, they're not expensive, right? 36 bucks for the 2015. And the other one's 31 for the 13. So they're tasty wines. They're tasty wines for sure.
And heading into Loire, we've got, wouldn't be a week if I didn't mention Domaine Huet Vauvray 2020, the Claude Dubourg Demi-Sec for 35. Already has a bid.
Jeff's constant weekly picks is Huet and Zinhundrecht and Gannet.
They're so good. They're so good. There's some Edmond Vuitton 2017.
Very expensive Sauvignon Blanc Club.
Paltry $285 for your bottle of Sauvignon Blanc. Is it worth it though? You tell me. I don't know.
That again is one of those wines, and I'm one of those people that's like, oh yeah, I remember when, blah blah blah. But yeah, Baton. I mean, it's true. Baton Sancerre was always very, very well respected because it's very, very good. And Clos Lanior is serious terroir, and so I think, over time, I think they've actually kind of dropped in price a little bit for some of the younger vintages. I think they actually kind of peaked out, but you'll still see, older examples pop up. The Sancerre Rouge comes around every once in a while, and it's super expensive too. But yeah, I mean, they're great wines, but yeah, 285 is a lot for Sancerre.
I also picked out a 95 Domaine des Beaumards, Coteau de Léon, Clos de Sainte Catherine. This one, $45. We've got two of them. I mean, this is good stuff. By all accounts, it's drinking well. We're talking about some beautiful Chenin Blanc, and I think that's reasonable and can withstand the age.
There's 04 Cartouchom also for $50, which should be drinking great right now. There's also there's two different lots, the 95 Clos de Sainte Catherine. And then there's some non-vintage Côte de Léon Carte d'Or Cuvée Ancienne de Jean Beaumard. It must be sparkling because I flagged this one. Let me see. I don't even remember. Beaumard, MV Beaumard. Yeah. No, it's not. It's not sparkling, but for some reason,
not
Cuvée Ancienne.
Not yet.
Beaumard.
Not yet, but you do have a soda stream, right?
Yeah, no, this is cool. Yeah, there's some great Beaumard wines in this week, and yeah, all at reasonable prices. So,
and then the only I saw was this 18 Domaine Saumon Muscadet Grand Reserve, $25. I thought that stuff looked super tasty if you like Muscadet. And then that was all I had from the Loire. And the only other thing I had was some Paul Bertrand Cahors Crocus La Roche-Mer. This stuff, $60 for 2014. Just thought it looked really interesting to get some Malbec from Cahors.
Crocus, interesting. Crocus La Roche-Mer. Oh, it's got some scores.
Does it?
Argentine style heavy bottle for this top of the range wine. Yeah, Jancis Robinson doesn't like heavy bottles, so it's funny that finishes a tad hot. This is a Tannenbaum. It's funny. Cool. Well, yeah.
All right.
Nice lineup of stuff this week.
And with that concludes France. So with WineBid's finally hammered, this has been Paul Walker and Jeff Gurn wishing you a happy bidding and cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.